Good morning. Welcome to the meeting of the Standing Senate Committee on Economic Development, Tourism, and Labor. Please silence all cell phones, and if you're interested in speaking, please sign up at the door. We've got two bills on the agenda. Hopefully we can move along quickly on these. First will be Senate Bill 136, which is, what's that? Oh, sorry. Yeah, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
Here.
Senator Clemens.
Here.
Senator Girdler. Senator Howell.
Here.
Senator Maiden.
Here.
Senator Nunn.
Here.
Senator Thomas. Senator Wilson. Senator Wise. Vice Chair Funky Frummeyer.
Present.
Chair Wheeler.
Present. All right. Thank you. Now that we are properly empaneled, we will start with Senate Bill 136. Vice Chair. Oh, well. Up. Good morning, Secretary. I think we all know who you are, but if you could please identify yourself for the record.
Mr. Chairman, it's good to see you. Thank you. My name is Jamie Link. I'm the Secretary of the Kentucky Education and Labor Cabinet.
Thank you, sir. And Vice Chair, you may proceed.
Yes, and I'm Senator Shelley Funky Frummeyer from Senate District 24, Campbell, Pendleton, Bracken, and the northeast corner of Kenton. So in regular session 2025, we tried to address and identify some concerns happening within our unemployment insurance. And we identified that in the event that there's fraud and in the event that Secretary Link and his team are able to identify it much more quickly, what are the punitive processes that are in place? Well, we got enthused and maybe overshot just a bit. So Secretary Link has brought us back into a little bit of guidance, and he's going to go over a few minor changes that are addressed in Senate Bill 136.
Thank you, Senator. I think this is very straightforward. I consider it kind of a housekeeping bill. The previous bill had us reporting potential fraud to the Justice Public Safety Cabinet. They really don't have any mechanism for investigating fraud. What the Office of Unemployment Insurance does is we always report suspected fraud to the appropriate county or Commonwealth's attorney, and then we also report it to the U.S. Department of Labor. We've always done that. The attorneys were mentioned in the last legislation, but DOL was not mentioned, and we're just looking to correct that.
Sounds like a pretty simple change. So
I'm pretty simple, yeah.
I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Oh, I apologize. Senator Howell has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real brief. You mentioned that you report the fraud and everything to the local prosecutors and everything. Do you know how much that's actually pursued by our local prosecutors? Do y'all follow up with that or keep up with that or anything?
Senator, I don't have the statistics. I can get that for you.
I wouldn't expect you to know that off the top of your head. But
I'm not that bright. But it's up to the prosecutor to determine whether to move forward on those, and probably depending upon the amount that might be involved, they may make that decision.
The reason I asked is we see this come up in some other areas where we have these enforcement mechanisms in place and opportunities, but different prosecutor offices are staffed differently, have different focuses and everything, and you can only do everything you can do, but just for kind of from the next level of whether we're actually going after the people that you've identified was kind of the crux of my question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I believe Senator Maiden's got a question as well.
That brings up something on the clawback. Once you report that and the county attorney or whoever takes that case, I wouldn't think the local county attorney would be too worried about getting the state's money back. Does anybody follow up on that? Because I know you do claw some back, correct?
You're talking about in suspected fraud cases?
Well, I mean, if they're proven guilty, surely we go back after to get our money back.
I'm quite sure that we do, because any fraudulent payments would need to be reimbursed back to the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund.
I just worry about if the county attorney's, prosecuting, he's not going to be too worried about getting the state's money back. If it was county money, maybe, but just like to make sure that we are clawing back and getting our money back.
I'll check with UI about that, and we'll get back with you and let you know what the exact process is.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Senator Boswell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'm okay with this bill, but I did want to take this opportunity just to mention one thing. Throughout my district, I have a lot of people who had applied for unemployment insurance have been it's been a very difficult process. It seems like if you just do one little thing wrong, you don't get your unemployment. I know people have gone several months without receiving a penny. I know some that are in adjudication have never received adjudication. So I just want to call that to your attention. And we can talk about that all day here, but I just had this opportunity. I just want to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Do we have a motion on the bill? All right, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Aye. Senator Clemens. Aye. Senator Funky Frommeyer.
Aye.
Senator Girdler. Aye. Senator Howell. Aye. Senator Maiden.
Aye.
Senator Nunn.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Aye.
Senator Wilson.
Aye.
Senator Wise.
Aye.
Chair Wheeler.
I vote aye. Okay, the bill passes. Let's see what? 11-0, and will be reported with favorable expression. The same shall pass. Thank you,
Thank
Vice
you.
Chair Funky.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, next up we have Senate Bill 183, which is Senator Nunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, please identify yourself and proceed.
I am Matt Nunn. I represent Senate District 17, and I'm just an all-around good guy.
No,
Make a motion.
I have prepared remarks because this is kind of a wonky policy bill, and I kind of nerd out on it a little bit. So I can go on and on forever about this topic if I don't kind of constrain myself to some remarks. So for the interest of time, I've done that. Senate Bill 183 focuses on one thing: transparency and accountability on proxy voting advice, particularly when that advice is provided to institutional investors and ultimately affects how companies are governed. Proxy advisors are firms paid to provide research, ratings, and recommendations on how shareholders should vote on corporate matters. Things like board elections, executive compensation, mergers or corporate restructuring, auditor selection, and very importantly, shareholder proposals. While most Kentuckians will never personally hire a proxy advisor, the reality is these firms can influence votes tied to Kentuckians' retirement accounts, pension investments, mutual funds, and institutional portfolios. And that's why this bill matters. It protects the investments of all Kentuckians that hold stock in publicly traded company, as I would assume most people in this room do. If you have a 401k, you are invested in a publicly traded company. This bill is aimed at preventing three problems. First, is meant to prevent proxy voting recommendations from being made based on non-financial agendas. For example, social, political, or ideological interest, when those interests do not have a direct and material connection to the financial risk or financial return. These agendas often have a negative impact on a company's operation and thus the return for investors. Second, is meant to prevent situations where a proxy advisor pushes shareholders to support a shareholder proposal against the recommendation of the company's independent board, but does so without providing a written economic analysis of what it will cost, what it will do, and how it impacts shareholders. I want to pause right there to point something out. A company's independent board has a fiduciary responsibility to the company and its shareholders. Proxy advisors do not have that same fiduciary responsibility. That's why it's very important that we do this. And third, it's aimed at preventing inconsistent guidance where a proxy advisor provides materially different advice to different clients on the same proposal without transparency, without accountability. Senate Bill 183 also aligns closely with recent federal action. On December 11, 2025, the White House issued an executive order titled Protecting American Investors from Foreign-Owned and Politically Motivated Proxy Advisors. That executive order raises concerns that certain proxy advisory firms may use their outsized influence over proxy voting to push agendas that are politically motivated rather than financially motivated, and it directs increased federal oversight through agencies such as the SEC, FTC, and Department of Labor.
This legislation reflects the same core principle at the state level. Proxy voting recommendations should be transparent, grounded in pecuniary factors, and accountable when they are not. Talking a little bit about the foreign-owned proxy advisor firms. There are two firms in particular, ISS and Glass Lewis. They are both foreign-owned firms, and they account for over 90% of proxy advising services in this country. So here's exactly what the bill does. It defines important terms clearly, such as pecuniary factors and non-pecuniary interest, as those ideological, political, environmental, or social interests that are not directly and materially tied to financial outcomes. The legislation then sets a clear standard. Proxy voting advice should be solely in the interest of shareholders. It requires an economic analysis when proxy advice conflicts with the independent board's recommendations. When a proxy advisor recommends support for a shareholder proposal in opposition to the independent board, the bill requires a written economic analysis showing the expected costs, benefits, and quantified impact on shareholder investment returns. It requires disclosure when a proxy advisor is giving advice that is not solely in shareholders' interest, potentially sacrificing investor returns. Lastly, it provides enforcement mechanisms whereby failure to comply is treated as a deceptive trade practice under Kentucky's consumer protection law. Let me also be clear about what this bill does not do. It does not prohibit proxy advisors from giving recommendations they believe are appropriate. It does not tell any investor how they must vote, and it does not require companies doing business in Kentucky to do anything. This legislation puts the transparency burden on the proxy advisors themselves. So in summary, this legislation requires truth in proxy advice. If a proxy advisor is using non-financial factors, this bill says disclose it clearly and back it up with economic analysis when appropriate. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll entertain questions.
Okay. Okay, Senator Clemens.
Yeah, so thank you for all the work you've done here, Senator, but I do have a few, I guess, statements or questions. So you define a proxy advisor as any person who is engaged in the business of providing advice, research, analysis, ratings, recommendations specifically respect to proxy voting for compensation. Further, you define providing a proxy advisor service as advice, recommendation on how to vote on a shareholder-sponsored proposal and company proposal. So I guess I got a hypothetical, if you would. Hypotheticals, if the NRA advises their dues-paying members to vote against a company proposal at Humana to elect a governing person because of their anti-gun beliefs, would they be required to disclose?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure that the NRA is a proxy advisory firm. That would be the first problem with your hypothetical situation.
Okay.
I would want to think about it more. I hate dealing in hypotheticals. That's always dangerous. And I'd want to think about your question a little more for answering. But I think the first problem is that the NRA is not a proxy advisory firm.
Okay.
Senator, my question to you is this. Are these proxy advisors registered under the National Association of Security Dealers? Are they registered under the Securities Exchange Act? Are they registered here with the Kentucky Department of Securities? Or are we just talking about any proxy advisor, whether they are registered or not?
My understanding, and I may have to ask for help with this one, Chris, I don't believe, you mind coming up? I don't believe they are registered, but Chris Nolan might be able to.
Chris, could you please identify yourself for the record?
Chris Nolan, legislative consultant with the American Property Casualty Insurance Association.
All right, you may proceed.
So I think that's one. The short answer to your question, there is some oversight, but very little federal oversight of these proxy advisor firms, and definitely no oversight in Kentucky.
Okay. Senator Maiden.
I just want to thank Senator Nunn for doing this. I wish to God we'd have had this 15, 20 years ago when the state of Kentucky's pension systems were getting robbed by previous administration. So I thank you, Senator Nunn.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
Aye.
Senator Clemens. Senator Funky Frommeyer.
Aye.
Senator Girdler.
Aye.
Senator Howell. Senator Maiden. Senator Nunn.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, I'd like to explain my no vote.
you may.
Okay. Since these companies are not registered, and there's very little regulatory oversight, I just don't see any problem with a group of advisors coming to a person saying, well, this company engages in heavy pollution, and we think that you ought to, as a shareholder, you ought to take a vote that would encourage more or less fossil fuels or more alternative energy uses, or anything of that nature. I just don't see a problem with that. You know, people can make their investment decisions based upon whatever personal interests they have, and I think they should have the freedom to do that and seek advice from entities that represent public shareholders to do that. And so for that reason, that's why I'm a no vote on this particular bill.
Senator Wilson.
Aye.
Senator Wise. Chair Wheeler.
I vote aye. Okay, the bill passes 9 to 2 and will be reported with favorable expression that the same shall pass. Thank you, Senator Nunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you'll indulge me with one more comment.
Briefly, yeah.
This obviously it was a party line vote, 9 to 2, but I want to point out that this is a non-political issue. This is not a partisan issue. This is about keeping political and ideological matters away from shareholders and investors, regardless of what those issues are, what side they come from. So this is a nonpartisan issue. This is about protecting Kentuckians that invest in publicly traded companies and also protecting Kentuckian jobs. If a publicly traded company passes a proposal that's detrimental to that company's financial operation, to its operations, it could cost the company jobs. And so if you care about Kentucky jobs, you should also care about this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All that we have on the agenda